to stay where I'm old and grey. I'll be right in my prime, living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
Actually, both of us were born and raised in California,
Yeah.
and then we moved to New York. But we didn't know each other when either one of us were in New York.
Yeah.
But yeah, so anyway, so I've been in New York for the last 10 years, and I moved to India, Bombay, about 2 years ago. And I moved here to launch the brand for the domestic market here in India. And we are in the handbag and accessory space. And we are trying to see how to look at things from a different vantage point when it comes to manufacturing for leather goods. And that's what brings me to India. Yeah, so we actually were founded in New York about 10 years ago, and the reason we come to India so often is because all of our manufacturing is very proudly made here in India, and we wanted to launch the brand for the domestic market here, so we launched about a year ago, and I moved here 2 years ago to set up operations, and now time's flying.
Yeah, similarly, as Shivam said, weirdly enough, rather, we both ended up growing up maybe an hour's drive away from each other out in the western coast of the United States, in the state of California.
Do you know what year this might be? Might have been.
Wow, how many years apart are we?
I'm 88.
89, shit, okay. Senior citizen over here. Yeah, so we're and it's just funny because we both grew up in California, in Northern California to be specific, and we both were New Yorkers for a period of time, and we didn't end up ever crossing paths. And once we did, we discovered that there were some mutual friends and some people that we both kind of knew back in California, maybe a couple in New York as well, and that was really interesting. And yeah, so I've had a similar sort of, for lack of a better word, origin story to Shivam, which is something that brought us close together as friends, and I think as folks who had a lot of respect for each other and each other's craft. So that's been really cool. I still remember meeting Shivam for the first time. We had a mutual friend who brought him to one of these events we do at Subko called SOS, which is Single Origin Series, and it was a wheat actually highlight. Shout out to 31 Farms. And that was the first time I met him, and yeah, ever since then we've actually been quite close and getting to know each other and each other's brands really well. And so that brings us to today, which is a very exciting moment for me because I've been a long admirer of Shivam's and his team's work at Behno, and I believe I kind of maybe brought up with Shivam at some point last year the idea that I really wanted to give a facelift and a sort of a reimagination of our aprons here at Subko at the cafes. And so I asked Shivam what he thought, and basically that started the journey of our first collaboration, which now has multiple parts.
Behno means sisters in Hindi and in Gujarati, and for us, it's a very special word. For me personally, I have a sister of my own. My mother's a sister. I have a large family. My dad, younger brother, married my mom's younger sisters. My mom's a sister, and then in our factories, the women call each other by their first name and then Ben. So the community of Ben becomes obviously Behno.
That's so funny because, as some of you guys might know, the Subko brand name is also kind of a play on words, and also has origins in Indic language. So I thought that was an interesting relational point for me and Shivam. So some of you guys may not know, but Subko is spelled S-U-B-K-O. It's a basically a play on words, harkening to the Indian subcontinent and sub. And in various Hindustani linguistic registers, it translates to for everyone or for all. So I actually loved hearing a bit about Shivam's thesis that led to his brand name. And it's always fun because both with our name and his name, I hear folks in India sort of like confused at first. Like, wait, it's actually behno, like behen? And you're like, yeah. For me, it's like Subko, like for everyone, I'm like, yeah. But then there's also this, this other connotation as well, which you just mentioned. And
I also think it's interesting because there's a layer of ethos and like consciousness to both of our brands.
yeah.
So I think that also gets captured in our respective names.
Being a complete noob, do we still use the word noob, Gen Z, or is it gone? Okay. Anyway, I'm a noob on leather. But listen, I don't know jack about leather quality grading, right? How would you, like, with the right methodologies of creating leather, do you believe that Indian leather can withstand rigorous quality checks that maybe define luxury products with, Italian leather in the market? Do you believe Indian leather can compete?
I don't believe I know, because it's already happening, right? I mean, we're one of the largest leather exporters. India is one of the largest leather exporters in the world. So I think we already know it can be. I think at this point, it's more about understanding and taking pride in the fact that India has such a massive history and capability of making leather goods.
Got you.
And I think it's about also...
It's awareness.
Awareness, but also I think, again, like as South Asian, we've been conditioned to think that European luxury in leather is the best. And I think it takes some relearning on our part to kind of be open to Indian leather luxury becoming a thing again.
Okay. Such pioneers that you guys have been in launching in New York, because to take the plunge to mark something as an Indian origin leather product in a city as cutthroat, competitive, and luxury as New York, and then actually, success is relative and ongoing, of course, as a journey, but actually have some success in rebranding the origin. And that actually reminded me so much of what our mission is. I think we have a long way to go, but it's inspiring for me to see that you guys started the other way around. Like, we started here in Bombay, right? And there's always been aspirations to take the brand outside of India and see how people react to that. And we've had a few positive experiences in cities like London and Dubai, and understanding what folks may think about an Indian origin story around coffee and chocolate, of a high quality standard, yet still rooted, and what that would mean, to people outside of the origin country. So I think I always found like a great layer of synergy and comfort with you in your mission, even though we have entirely different product lines, and I think the philosophy and the thesis is really very well aligned.
I think it also speaks to like a larger global conversation, right? Where now India is being talked about almost everywhere for many different reasons, good and bad. But I think it's very interesting because for a long time, people didn't always think that luxury in terms of coffee, handbags, can come from places like India.
Sure.
And I think now people are understanding that it's our own maybe ignorance that needs to be re-educated.
And what's cool about that, Shivam, is if you start to extend that thought, and you not only is it something that is being sort of this cross-sectoral like rebranding of the country and the region happening outside of India. The interesting part is that those products are now being consumed within India, which is what brought you here, right? I mean, you're thinking, wait a second, now I've developed this luxury brand with, manufactured with Indian, materials, and I've managed to make some headway in getting people in other countries, especially the US, to think highly of this, and for good reason. And now what are you thinking? Now you're like, wait a second, there's actually an incredible market that I want to talk to and speak to about this in India? Like, you feel like that's there? Like, you feel like India is there, interested in luxury and luxury that's homegrown?
Yeah, but I agree with you, Rahul. But it applies for you too, right? I mean, for so many years, maybe as NRIs or diasporic South Asians, we've been conditioned that if you want good things, you have to go abroad, right? Like, how often did you come back to India with suitcases with stuff for family members here in India, right?
For sure.
Growing up. So I think that narrative is slowly changing because now we're learning, oh shit, like luxury has been in India, great things have come from India and will continue to come from India. So I think that also happening, that education is also happening.
Another interesting thing that I think folks might want to hear about as the apron came to life um, is one day me and Shivam were talking about just the nature of leather, and I think I asked about the colors because I was always quite taken aback when I browsed through the Behno website for the first time and I started seeing these like really amazing shades. I don't know what shades they are, to be honest. But I always found it very impressive that you could get leather to these very pop shades. And that might be my own ignorance on on luxury bags, but I don't think it's too common to see luxury bags in these like pastel-y shades, and in addition to like beautiful beige and black and white. And I loved that. So I think we were talking about coffee machines one day and how coffee machines can be customized in a similar way with, you know, custom RAL, you know, shades on panels. And I was like, oh man, like I'd seen a reference somewhere for something and I started thinking, oh, wouldn't it be interesting if we could put like a leather patch cladding on top of our coffee machines? And
yeah, and then,
where did
and
that
then
go?
yeah, and then I was like wondering what sort of colors we should use, and you said the brighter, the more colorful, the crazier,
Yeah.
the more fun it'll
Yeah.
be. So I think now we have some cool color combination coming up too. But
So
that was
actually we're like
interesting.
placing like a leather panel, like what do we call it? Like a leather
Like
patch.
a leather patch,
Leather patch on the machine.
which is also hard because you guys use like state-of-the-art machines that are they have very unique shapes. So
Yeah.
like how do we make a patch and you have so many different types of machines. So how do we make a patch that can kind of work? But I think your team and I, we figured out how to give each one a different personality. So I think that'll come together.
Yeah, I'm really excited to show you guys what this looks like. So a lot of our stores will feature this Behno kind of leather takeover essentially on your espresso machine. So
But I'm going to add something. So there's something really cool about the patches is we have an embroidery program that runs through the entire patch, and it integrates like obviously our sort of B logo unit, but also the croissants and the diamond from the Subko units, and then we have this wave detail that we carry over through all of our products. So it's nice to see how we could like marry these sort of different branding elements into one sort of homogeneous unit. So that was fun.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the end result.
And then you'll see that the diamond that we use on the patches is the same diamond on the apron, so everything kind of carries over in terms of that collaboration, communication piece.
And then there's a third element, no? There's a bag.
A bag, yes.
Tell us about the bag, because bags are your thing. I'm not going to say much. What's the bag?
So the bag is our thing, but very much inspired by obviously your sourdough loaves and your breads that you have. So we decided with you, even though you're not taking very much credit for it, to do kind of a bread bag. Where if someone is buying a loaf of bread, how do you throw it into a sort of very unique,
Or chocolate,
easy,
or, you know.
exactly, like a tote bag, but
Yeah.
like a little bit more designed. And we again incorporate that same embroidery unit. We have a scrunch function, which is actually inspired by one of our signature bags called the Frida series. And we wanted to see how we can make it something that if you don't buy a loaf of bread, you can still fit a laptop. So I think it's a pretty cool, modern, updated tote.
Is there leather on that?
There is leather. We have a leather patch on it. The drawstrings are leather. And then we also have like a webbing shoulder strap.
So it's going to be like an elevated tote.
An elevated tote that you can use for multiple different things, inspired by the Subko sourdough loaf.
All right. Very cool. I like that.